talk a little bit more about what's going on with the channel today. So I've got 3 of our exhibitors, sponsors, going to join me who are absolutely critical to the channel and are very well in tune with what's happening in the channel. I've got with me today Dan Pirigyi from TCG, Adam Edwards from Telarus, and you all saw him yesterday, heard from him yesterday, John Delozier from Intelisys. Gentlemen.
You'll notice I sat in the middle for a reason. I got to divide these guys up, at least in some way, shape, or form. They got me surrounded now.
Well, JD, since you mentioned it, let's start off by addressing the elephant in the room. Rich mentioned it. I'm assuming everybody in our audience knows there was a pretty big acquisition that took place earlier this week when Telarus announced that it is acquiring TCG. So let me start off by asking both you guys, what's that mean? What does it mean for your 2 organizations coming together as one?
Well, I guess I could start. I think it's really super exciting. We're happy to be part of the Telarus family, and it was no secret that our tools really weren't up to par with some of our competitors. So, we were excited that our partners get a chance to, partake in some of these great tools that are out there. And, it's all about the partner at the end of the day, right? It's about the partner, their experience, the security of knowing that they're going to be with one of the largest TSBs in the nation. And, we're just looking forward to the future. Engineering resources, engineering resources for days. So it's really a good time.
We're excited about it for a few reasons. Number one is geographically, it really balances out. There's this center of gravity in the East now, which we've needed as an organization. Secondly, just the passion and the growth as a result of that, of the partner forward mentality, is exactly aligned with our organization. But I would say third, and probably most importantly, is really scale. What scale means is, it doesn't mean just bigger. Bigger is fine, but if you're not getting bigger and more efficient and delivering more value than you could at a smaller level, then you've lost. And that's what this is really about, is with scale should come more partner value. That's what we're trying to bring together, is if we can combine our efforts, you can write a lot more lines of code, you can hire a lot more talented people, and that all benefits agents. So that's really what it's about.
Thank you, Adam. So, JD, you talked about scale yesterday. Intelisys has been through the acquisition part of it. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, first of all, just because you change jerseys in this business doesn't mean you change the people. And sincere congratulations, Adam, to you and to Dan. These are 2 fine gentlemen, and I'm happy for you guys. So very good. The tide rises with companies like this, and I really, really mean that. I think it's great to see the industry continue to evolve. And we've seen so much massive consolidation in the last year or 2. Quite frankly, some of it I wasn't a fan of. But when you see things like this happen, it just brings more value. You see outsiders come into the industry, and you see companies like ours, like theirs, rise up. For Intelisys, we've been in the front of the innovation for years and years and years. And so once we were acquired by ScanSource, it actually changed our direction to some degree to become that hybrid distribution company that I talk about over and over and again. And so I think as things continue to change, we'll continue to evolve. We honestly, as much as I love these guys, we run the offense here. And so for me, it's about what we're doing and how we're moving forward. So I'm happy for them, but I'm excited about what the future holds for all of us.
So, you've all alluded to some of the change that we've seen take place. The last 2 years have been absolutely unprecedented. How's that changed? How's that changed what's happening in the channel? How's that changed how you interact with your partners, what those partners expect from you? Dan, you want to start with that?
Well, look, I think there's no secret that everybody's not coming into the office, right? So that's the first thing. The last couple of years, we haven't seen each other as much as we would have liked to see each other. But, everyone is still transacting, and business really hasn't slowed down through this period, right? I think, if anything, it's actually increased. And the more people start to work from home, the more tools they need, the better services they need, the more, video conferencing needs they have. So, if anything, it's really kind of, projected business north as opposed to, slowing down. So, and then, just seeing people, now it's good to get back out and, start to see everybody at these events, and, it's good to, high five and slap hands, and, whether people move back to the office, I guess that's yet to be seen, but, business is still moving from home, so it's positive.
Yeah, I'll add on to that, from a digital transformation perspective, the inevitable was just forwarded by the pandemic, right? We knew it was happening. We saw this transformation. All the companies saw it coming, not the pandemic, but certainly, the move to the cloud, et cetera. And I said this yesterday, in the first 8 weeks of the pandemic, $15 billion was spent weekly in digital transformation and Band-Aids. What does that mean? It means 2.5 years later, those companies now are looking for the long-term solutions. And that's the opportunity for the partner community. We talked about it yesterday. It's about you being the consultants and taking advantage of that opportunity. And I know you're going to talk a little bit about the weather around recession, those things coming. To me, it's not recession-proof, right? But the opportunity has never been greater.
Yeah, it's true. What we found, we've been doing this for 20 years now, we find anytime there's a change, whether it's a positive change or a negative change, any sort of change is good when you're selling. When you're selling technology and you're addressing issues that companies are having, any sort of change in the environment is going to impact decisions, and that's a good thing. It creates more conversations. So whether it's work at home, whether it's move to the cloud, whether it's AI and bots, whatever it is, that is a boost for us. I think that creates more opportunity for all of us as an industry.
Have you seen the sales cycle change at all? You talked, Dan, you mentioned, everybody's video conferencing, everybody's doing the remote work thing. How has the sales cycle changed? I mean, you guys are doing more business. That makes a lot of sense. Has the sales cycle changed at all?
Well, I think it's like the Amazon effect, right? When you order something from Amazon, you expect it to show up at your front door the next day. I think that's actually happening in our business as well, right? Things move a lot faster. Decisions are made in a much faster form than they used to be, right? There used to be this heavy analysis of whether or not, they were going to switch a technology or a company would move to a different technology. But now it's like once a customer sees a few quotes and, they make a decision really quickly. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but it feels like things are moving much faster. Like, a decision on a gig circuit used to take, a series of weeks, but now it's like, okay, that looks good. Let's pull the trigger.
I think that in terms of decision making, it goes faster. But then the challenge I think we've seen is, number one, people are selling larger, more complex products, and that's a longer sales cycle. But then you've got implementation issues. So the sales cycle may go faster, but implementation time to cash sometimes is longer because you can't get the equipment. You can't get the provider can't get what they need in place, and so it's just a change on both ends of it. Quicker decisions, but slower implementation, unless it's purely cloud and the equipment is irrelevant. Then you can get going quickly.
Yeah, I think it's important too that you stay on your game, right? Because there's a lot of people that can say no, and typically only one person that can say yes. And so we see a lot of different votes now being tallied. It's no longer just the IT guy that comes in and says, hey, I'd like to do this. It's HR, it's sales, it's operations. And so maybe the cycles speed up. But as we talked about yesterday, it is critically important that our partners as influencers in all parts of that community understand how those decisions are being made. Because it is not simply something that just goes into the procurement IT place and comes out a yes or no. There's a lot of people involved now.
Adam, you just mentioned the supply chain. How much do the challenges that we've seen with supply chain impact decision making?
Well, when you're talking about supply chain and physical goods, I think that's more JD's area of expertise, with them having both physical distribution and cloud. So I'd love to hear him answer.
No, it's a great question, and it's very relevant for what we do at ScanSource Intelisys. Supply chain constraints do a couple things. The first thing is it causes prices to rise, right? So you see price increases across the board in video endpoints, things like headsets even. You see customers start demanding the product sooner, and projects are getting delayed because of the constraints. So that causes a lot of angst, which drives the prices, which, by the way, is not such a bad thing for partners in the crowd today that get commissioned on those same things. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But there's also the long-term effect on projects. You could be anywhere in the world with your iPhone, And if it runs out of juice, I said it yesterday, there's no magic dust that recharges it. Everything plugs in. Everything hits the ground at some point. And so we've seen delays in some of the bigger scale projects because of it from a supply perspective.
Do you think, have you seen end customers, end users, end businesses make faster, earlier decisions to transition more to the cloud because they can't necessarily get their hands on some other hardware, so they're looking to cloud services?
Well, I think that, yeah, we were actually in the office of one of our largest VARs who does, they're transitioning their company to where 50% will be, agent sourced, really brokered, and there's 50% where they still do equipment. And what is happening there is they're rapidly moving things over. So even people within that organization, I see that as a microcosm of the entire industry. You've got people in that organization that are comped on equipment and on the agent sale, and out of habit, they would go down the equipment route, but because of the backlog, because of the implementation issues, they're shifting a lot of that faster than they anticipated. They were on a 5-year plan to bring half of their revenue through recurring revenue, and that's accelerating because you've got internal people from self-interest saying, well, I need to get paid on this, and my customer needs it installed, and so they'll flip that deal. They no longer go in as an equipment-first approach. It's, hey, I've got an offering here that's hosted somewhere else that I think will be a great fit.
Which, by the way, I just want to add on to what he said, because it's really good, is that it also creates some of that sales cycle speed that you talked about, because they are running quickly to the cloud. But we live in South Florida, and if there's a hurricane coming, what happens here? The grocery stores run out of water immediately. Toilet paper's gone. Forget it. That's what happens. I know you don't have the hurricanes in Utah. That's how it works down here. You're going to find this out. And so it's the same kind of thing. We have folks running to the shelves to take as much as they can, anticipating those projects coming, and it creates all kinds of issues. It really does.
And by the way, we see the same thing in the Northeast: winter storms, hurricanes, whatever. It doesn't matter what season. So,
that's right.
Has anything surprised you in terms of what you've seen change or evolve over the past couple of years?
Do you mean, are you talking about agent specific, or are you talking about product delivery? In what regard?
I think either, probably, in terms of what you're being asked to deliver, in terms of what what your partners are selling, in terms of what's become the hottest ask, the biggest ask.
I'll tell you, in terms of what we've been asked to deliver, the answer is more. Like, everyone wants more, but hey, I mean, we're all consumers. We all want more. Like, give me more and let me pay less for it. So, as a TSB, what we're trying to do is provide as much value as possible, and have a fair economic trade, that we're going to provide things that, yesteryear it was, we tried to do it just through tools and automation. If we could just provide some tools and quoting resources, et cetera, would that get it fixed? It turned out, no, we had to provide resources as well. We needed engineers, project management, we need some account management that partners want, and they're saying, basically what partners are telling us is, hey, I need you to augment my business. I don't just need a great commission, that's table stakes. I need someone I trust, I need the relationship, I need commissions, but that's foundational. I also want all these other things. I want help with leads. I want help with project management. I want help here. And that's not each business is unique. These are all independent businesses. But the increasing ask is, help back me up, because I'm getting into bigger deals, more complex areas. I'm growing a business, and I need you to be a resource to me. And so that's put pressure on us to say, how do we respond? How do we reinvest? That's back to scale. You can only do that through scale, and that's why that matters, is that volume needs to focus on producing those goods, producing those values that partners are saying, bring me this, or I need to do business somewhere else.
And we're seeing that consistent too, right? And that's one of the main reasons that we decided to partner up and become part of Telarus, is these exact things, right? I mean, you're getting into more complex sales. There's more requirements. You need engineering support. You need resources, and that's like the exact reason that we decided to come aboard.
Yeah, those things with partners, they don't come as a surprise to me, only because I've seen it from both sides as a supplier, and now with Intelisys, ScanSource, and us being kind of the OGs on the stage. But the thing that surprises me is the outside forces coming into our market space. That surprised me. I could act like it doesn't, but it did. And seeing private equity and outside ventures wake up and notice our industry and how fast that's coming, through not so much internal consolidation, but some of the outside forces coming in. That surprised me a little. I hadn't seen that in my career. So for me, that was a big one this year.
Yeah, well, I'll say the timing of that was really interesting. Dan and I were actually talking about this last night about why now? Why did they get interested now? Because I really thought that when ScanSource acquired Intelisys, I really thought it was going to kick things in motion. Yeah, because this is a business that will naturally consolidate. It's like an airline or like a railroad. It thrives on scale. The more rail miles you have, the cheaper it is to move freight along that. It's like, or like a network, same thing. It's a large fixed cost, so you need volume to make it efficient and to provide value. And so I always thought this would consolidate, and really thought that the ScanSource deal would have kicked that off, that people would have woken up and said, okay, we're going to do this. Yeah. And it really didn't. Yeah. There was a lull for years after that where it didn't happen. So I've asked our backers, I've asked Columbia, why now? Why wasn't they said, look, we've been looking at you guys for a long time, the whole industry. We looked at it 10 years ago. We liked the model, but it just wasn't big enough, wasn't mature enough that we could really back it and see it go. And he said, but once we really dug in and found out how truly valuable, what we've always known, how valuable these businesses are, they also all of a sudden did their homework and got conviction. What's interesting about these players is when one gets conviction, they all kind of lean on each other and copy each other's homework. Is really what happens. Right. Because if you got conviction, well, I've got conviction, and now I've got to get a piece of it, and I don't want to get left out. And so they all start jumping in and start really studying. And that's actually good for all of us, because the banks get conviction. That means borrowing rates go down. That means there's more resources to invest for these growing businesses. And that's why I think there's goodness there. But it was really interesting to me, that long pause. And now there's this fever pitch of how do we become a part of this? And I think it's just a testament to the value that each of you have built. These are great businesses. We've always known that. You've always known that. And finally, Wall Street knows that. They know that these are incredible businesses that are here for the long haul, because investors don't come in and make short-term plays. They're looking for something that's going to grow long-term. That's how they get a return on their investment.
One of the areas that at ITEXPO we've seen just incredible growth, especially this year, is the security space. How's that impacting the suppliers that you're working with? How's that impacting your partners? Is there anything from the sales perspective that should be more important than security to businesses these days?
I mean, I'll take it from a revenue perspective. I think it's a very exciting time for our partners. It's another amazing revenue stream that they can add to, customers that maybe if you're just focusing on their internet connectivity and their UCaaS services, you're kind of looking at a very small portion of the spend. When you start to move into the security, the ARPU goes up significantly, right? And there's a lot there. So, from that perspective, we love it because it's another product that we can, push out there, and it's another product that, our partners can make a significant amount of money on.
Yeah, I think fear is the great motivator. And, it's like insurance, right? I remember when I was a younger man and would go to Costco and buy a TV, and they tried to pitch me on the insurance, the $33 insurance policy. I would laugh at them. Today, I won't buy anything without that plan. It's too risky. And I think that enterprise always follows consumer. And so there's a lot of mystery in security, and where there's mystery, there's margin. And so I think it's a great opportunity. I think we'll continue to see it rise. At the Delozier household, our local password for our Wi-Fi is like 50 digits long for some reason.
I thought you were about to give us your password.
No, I'm not.
I was about to take notes.
Not you two. No way. If you get that password, you'll have access to everything. But I think that, you're going to see it go more and more and more. You see the carriers even getting in and saying, hey, don't look at us just for network, look at us for security. You have the security-centric firms. There's all kinds of opportunity for our crowd, for the partners out there today in security, and I think it's just going to keep rising.
We see it as a conversation with every product that's being sold. So it's not necessarily a partner. Sometimes a partner will go in and have a security conversation first because that's the hot topic. That's what the leader of the organization wants to talk about. But what we find it's a great approach to whether you're selling network, whether you're selling a cloud solution. The security conversation has to be a part of it, or you're not going to cover the entire solution.
But it has become part of the entire solution. You can't. It sounds like you can't go in. Your partners can't go in without understanding and being able to include security in that complete picture.
Let's say it a different way. I think Adam's onto it. If you're not asking them about security, somebody is. So just know that. So you may be selling UCaaS, CCaaS, mobility, whatever it is, you have to get involved in that conversation because at its core, its essence is foundational in any business. So I think that, you, as a partner, you need to make sure that you're in that conversation.
All three of you work with a tremendous number of suppliers. How do you handle that? How do you manage that with your partners? And what does it mean for your partners that you've got such a collection of often competitive suppliers?
Well, look, I think it's great. I think it's great for our partners. It gives them selection, right? It gives them a lot of options. I mean, if you were to look at our carrier agreement 10 years ago, I think there was maybe 25 or 30 different ways that a partner can make commission. Now there's north of 250 different suppliers that a partner can go out and sell and, reap the benefit of. So I think it's fantastic. And, the more technology that comes into our space and the more companies that come into the space, that just gives us more tools in the arsenal to be, able to sell.
One of my favorite studies that took place was a few years ago. AT&T did a study on the ACC brand. Do we really need that brand? Or is it just some legacy thing we can fold into the mighty, Death Star that is the AT&T logo? And what their study came back and actually showed was the partners were selling ACC and the customers who were buying ACC did not even consider AT&T as an option. And what they learned from that is that the partners would sell what was easy, what was straightforward, and what was good for the customer. And that's what ACC's brand promise was at that time. And now it's become more of an AT&T brand promise, but that's what the brand promise was. And I think what that showed, it showed AT&T, but also demonstrated to me was it's not about the brand. So it doesn't matter how many suppliers are out there or the competition. The supplier that's going to win is not the one with the best marketing. It's the one that treats the partner the best, that shows them their customer is going to be successful on this product and is going to treat them well over time when times go wrong. The smartest people in the channel know that it's not about the lifetime value of the customer, it's about the lifetime value of the partner. And that one deal that you're doing with the partner gives you a license to get into the next deal and the next deal and the next deal. And then partners are in habit because they just know that's where they go. And so the game in the channel is not necessarily won by big marketing, big messaging by these corporate brands. The suppliers that win, it's my belief, is the ones that do right by channel partners. I think that was proven years ago by AT&T and ACC study, but I've seen it in front of me year after year after year. That's how it's won. It doesn't matter the size of the company or the branding. It matters the treatment of the partner.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that, as a TSD, not all TSDs are created equal, right? That's a fact.
Amen.
We talked about this backstage. Not all TSDs are created equal. Not all conference companies are created equal. Not all suppliers are created equal. That's a fact. And so at Intelisys, I think that's part of the value that we'll bring to the partner community to help you sort through that, because your customers surely don't know. I was a supplier 11 months ago, selling to him and selling to him, probably annoying them as much as I possibly could.
You were much less annoying back then.
Yes, exactly. And so the days are over when, customers get a bag and they throw all the UCaaS suppliers in there and shake it up and pull it out and they all look the same. That can't be the case. That's not the value that we bring to the community now. And so for us, we created this 5-star program that really puts suppliers in different categories, and we're able to supply you with the data, you with the analytics on each of their sweet spots, because they aren't all created equal. That's an important thing to remember, although we have 200 on our line card, and I love each one of you the same. Just know that.
So JD, you use the term TSD. Adam, you use TSB. For a long, long time, the term has been master agent. And I know this is something you guys have talked about previously during the year. Is the term master agent gone away, or at least going away? How do we call you guys? Is it a TSD, TSB? Are we coming up with a new term for what you all do?
I'll take this one first. 21, we dropped the term master, and for several different reasons. The obvious is that the term is offensive to some people, and that matters. That matters to us. It matters to these guys. It is a reason, and a very good one, not to use the term. As important, or more importantly, as a business, it doesn't describe who we are. right? It never really put out what that means. Now, it's been used so often, so long, you immediately kind of knew, but it certainly didn't describe ScanSource Intelisys. The reason why I use TSD is because we are about hybrid distribution. My business looks a little bit different than theirs. Not better, not worse, just different. And so for me, from a distribution perspective, there's all kinds of things that we're orchestrating, whether it's cloud services, hardware, software, connectivity, security, all the things we're talking about. So distribution makes sense, and plus, it's our heritage. So for me, TSD seemed a little more applicable for what we do. And Adam and Dan may disagree with this. I feel like broker is more transactional. And I don't want to be transactional. I want to build into those businesses through that distribution model. That's why we use it.
You know, we tried to drop master agent quite a while ago. Before it was, we started talking about the racial connotations to that. We just found it was bizarre when you go to your family party and say, "I'm a master," and this is my sub. My customer that I care about, that I'm trying to serve, is subordinate to me. It was just bizarre, and so we tried to change this. And what we found is we didn't have the powerful enough voice to change it on our own. So when the opportunity came and people got together and said, "Hey, let's change this," we were on board of, yeah, absolutely, let's change this. Now, my preference would be if we could be called a business enablement company. I think that is a more accurate description of what we're trying to do as an organization, of how do we help these businesses grow. That didn't carry the day. And so we went down the road of whether it's a technology solutions brokerage or distributor. And I think there were two sides of the fence on that. I thought we had unanimity. Clearly, we did not. My feeling is we just got to get on the same page. I don't think it matters at this point whether it's a B or a D. We just got to get united on that, so that the press can call us the same thing, we can call each other the same thing, and we know what we're talking about. That's really important as a category, that we understand what we talk about. And then I think the more important work is further defining what value that category provides. And that's where I think the exciting part is what does that provide to the end selling partner, and how does that change over time?
I think you guys covered pretty much every talking point on this, so I don't need to interject.
But I'll add one thing for Dan. That moniker is very important, and you need to earn that. And I think we all three will agree on that. Like, you don't just get to show up and decide that's who you are. And so I think there's certain things behind that you have to keep us accountable on. Some of the things that both these guys have talked about up here, those things matter, and they're important. And I think that when we use the term TSD or TSB, either one, that you have to meet certain criteria to be in that category. Very important to us.
Between the B and the D is C, so maybe we use the term consultant.
Well, there you go.
Or maybe just TBD.
Yeah, TBD.
So when you guys talk about value, and regardless of which set of letters we want to use, how are you changing the value proposition for your partners? JD, you talked a little bit about it yesterday. The complexity of the technology solutions that your partners are being asked to deliver is constantly changing, growing, it's becoming more complex. How do you add more value so that they're able to successfully deliver to their customers?
Well, I mean, look, as far as technology goes, and as many things that partners want, I think the key element that we've always kind of stayed true to is answering the phone, right? And being there for our partners. And when they need something, we'll find the solution. We'll help them navigate into the best possible outcome for their customer. So I don't think that's ever going to change, regardless of what the technology outcome or where technology heads. It's you've got to take care of your partner first, and we're laser focused on that. And then bringing in the right solution is always best for the client. We're going to do that as well.
It's always been table stakes. What's interesting is we would send out surveys to our partners to rate us, an NPS score. How are we doing? But the real truth was not in the number they gave us, it was in the comments. And in the comments, it would always say, 10, you're great, so-and-so is so responsive, they pick up on the first ring. Or 0, you're terrible, so-and-so doesn't respond to me for a couple of days. Responsiveness has been the measure, I think, of whether or not people at a foundational level wanted to work with us. But we're being pushed now for not to not do that, but do much more in addition to that. And what's interesting to me is partners are now saying, you know, they're bringing in our engineering or a project management team on a very large deal. Well, people go to LinkedIn and see the Telarus logo. And so now partners are in a position where they're telling the Telarus story. Look, this is my brand, this is who I am. I bring this resource behind me that augments what I do. They are this massive organization you cannot access without me. That is a surprising change. A couple of years ago, the directive to us was, stay in the background. I don't want to see your logo. This is my show. And you know, it was a fun conversation I had last night with a partner who said, I love talking with such and such engineer, because they always referred to me in the customer conversation of, we discussed this and we whiteboard. They made me look like the hero. And I think that's the job of the TBD of the TBD. Yes. Is how do we help that partner be more successful? And there's a real question out there now is, where does our brand belong? Because people are looking at LinkedIn and partners are now telling a story that's different than it was a couple of years ago. It's not, hey, there's nothing behind the curtain, don't worry about it. It's, no, I'm actually proud to be aligned with this TBD. And they help me and augment what I do, and you're going to be better off as a result. And so I think that we're continuing being pulled in that direction of give me more. And I think the way in which we answer that, you know, is going to be dictated by the partners.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that it has changed. I remember the days of hiding the logo, and even from a supplier side, we saw a lot of that back in the day. I think it's additional value too. I think Adam said table stakes. It's for sure engineering. It's for sure you know, sorting through the menagerie of suppliers and the opportunities that partners have with their customers. At Intelisys, we're trying to do some other things as well. We've gotten super serious about getting financially involved with our partners at the sub level. So we don't want to buy their companies. We just want to grow their companies, because we know ultimately it'll help us based on your growth. And so you see the Bank of Intelisys, whether it's advanced commissioning, whether it's investment in headcount, whether it's investment in even facilities and your capabilities. So you have to think of those kinds of things. You know, you have to find ways to bring value and disseminate. If not, why would you even need the TBDs, right? So we have to figure that out amongst ourselves. And I think each company has different places that they're focusing, but all bringing value to the partner community.
Actually starting to sound a little more like TLC.
Yeah, a lot of TLC.
So obviously, a little bit of industry consolidation we've seen happen right on stage here. We've seen and likely will continue to see consolidation within the supplier community. What does that do for your partners? How do you handle that? Is it good for them? Is it difficult to manage? How do you help them navigate those situations?
I think the consolidation in the supplier community is fantastic. I think it's Adam said it earlier, it's natural. This is a natural thing that's happening in our industry. I know there's a lot of choices out there, and sometimes you could think to yourself, okay, I love it that there's so many different choices because I can mitigate risk. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think the technology is the technology. We know what's required to be successful in the UCaaS space, the CCaaS space, the security space. I think as consolidation is occurring, it's not unionizing pricing or creating havoc, I think, for the partner community. I think it's creating more options, actually, within those giant firms. And so we love and value all of our suppliers, but we have our eye on that supplier community from a consolidation perspective, and we'll continue to take advantage of the consolidation for our partners, on behalf of our partners, as the suppliers come together. So we're all for it.
I think the channel thrives on fragmentation. I think the way we thrive is when there's choice in the market and we are needed to help make a decision, especially as those decisions are more complex. If it's not something you can just go online and point and click on, which the things we're increasingly selling are not. It's a sit-down discussion of my business is unique, I have these needs, let's talk about a solution. And so fragmentation, I think, helps us. I think that when there's consolidation to the point that it makes a more manageable relationship where we can have programs together and co-invest together and make things better for partners, that's great. When it comes down to, you know, a leader that is not channel friendly, I'll say this, I don't think Teams is good for the channel. You know, there are a lot of companies now that are saying, hey, we enable teams. But if you're selling teams, we're talking like single-digit commissions. That's not great for the channel, and they're taking a large share of the market. I mean, if you look at the numbers of what Zoom, channel-friendly, thank goodness they weren't at the beginning, Teams, not channel-friendly, that's not good for us when there's consolidation of a channel-unfriendly company. And so I think it's conditioned upon how that provider behaves in the channel as to whether or not it's good for us.
Does channel friendliness impact how you provide consultative support to your partners?
I would
Yes.
say 100%, right? Thank you for the volleyball right there. That was an easy one.
Now, I can speak on behalf of these guys when I say this. We're all about them maximizing profitability and commissions and as much money as they possibly can make. Because ultimately, we thrive there as well. And we very quickly can distinguish between suppliers that aren't channel friendly. It's obvious. We talk about it, by the way, amongst ourselves. You all talk about it amongst yourselves. And, you know, I've been a channel guy my whole career. My whole career I've played in the channel. And I just can't understand conceptually how somebody doesn't get it. It's mind-boggling that you would want to go out on a dock and fish all day to catch 10 when you can teach somebody to catch 10 each and bring in 100. Like, it just doesn't make sense mathematically. So I can tell you at Intelisys, we are very cognizant of non-channel friendly companies, and we will not push we won't sign an agreement with a non-channel friendly company, or let's say it a better way, a supplier that says they're channel friendly, but we know they're not channel friendly. And in everything they do, it's not channel friendly. So out, we're not doing it.
You know, I think we can see that in history. This channel was built on telecom. Like, we're selling all kinds of other technologies right now, but it was built on telecom. And what is amazing to me, and I went down to Australia and told this story to Telstra, who is the AT&T of Australia, when they were trying to go through these motions of how do we get a channel started. And I told them, listen, the AT&T and Verizon had 80% of the enterprise network. They owned the network. And we built our industry right around them because they did not want to play nice. Until about 5 years ago, AT&T stepped up and they've been phenomenal. It was CenturyLink only that wanted to play well. It was Quest that really we built the channel around, and CLEX. And we built right around. We took that 20% of the market and we built an industry right around them because they didn't want to play nice. And so my story to Telstra was, you can pretend you have a monopoly. I assure you, you do not. Because individual sellers are going to do things for their customers they feel is right, and they feel compensates them appropriately. So if you don't want to play, and you want to be the big monopoly and say, we need to sign an exclusive, then we're going to run right around you, because we've got a proven track record. That's what partners do. These are not people you're going to pin into a corner and treat like direct reps. These are independent business people who are going to operate for their best interest and, more importantly, for their customers. And so I think that what this channel has proven over and over again is you treat us right, you're going to get incredible returns. You don't, we're going to find a way around.
So how do your partners deal with, there's certainly pressure in the industry with the end business to adopt teams. How do your partners deal with that pressure, knowing that they may not be as channel friendly as some other options, but the solution, somebody may be pushing for it internally?
Well, we're going to sell around it. I mean, one is they can go with teams. You can sell against it if they're dead set on teams. This is a way a lot of channel unfriendly companies get a little bit of business, is because the partner is going to steer them away to the extent possible. If the decision is already made, then it's a question of, okay, then how do I make at least a little bit of money on it? I'm going to put an enablement partner over the top of it. I'm going to put someone in that can make their experience better. I'm going to plug in the SIP trunk. I'm going to do these other things to augment it to make sure I'm still a part of it, but that is certainly not my first choice. I'm going to sell against and provide other alternatives to make sure that, number one, the customer is happy, but number two, I have a place in the conversation.
We have a different approach to teams at ScanSource and Intelisys. We bought a company called Inti about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and Inti is basically a clearinghouse for O365 and Azure. And so from a licensing perspective, that was very strategic in terms of acquisition, because we knew that Teams is so prevalent across the world, and so important in terms of you run into it all the time. Certainly, to Adam's point, not a place you're going to make a ton of commission when it comes to licensing, et cetera. So by purchasing that company, what it's allowed us to do is work with companies like 8x8 and RingCentral and others that have developed this direct route interface into Teams, voice enabling it, and adding those kinds of services. That's where you as partners can make money. So for us, the philosophy might be a little different. It's not so much as a sell around. It might be, unofficially a sell in spite of, but we have a very tight relationship based on that acquisition with Microsoft. But for sure, as a channel community, the way you make money is through consulting and professional services and commissions through those adjunct suppliers that have chosen to work with them. I don't think they're going away. It's a big, big company, and their reach is pretty significant. And so we've taken a little bit of a different approach there.
JD, you mentioned earlier during our discussion that your models aren't necessarily recession-proof, yet there's a good chance that this pending recession is going to continue. How's that going to impact you? How's it going to impact your partners? How are you going to be able to navigate around it?
It's a great question, and we saw with the pandemic, it certainly wasn't a recession, but it changed our industry. And what happened? The cream rose to the top. With you, with us, opportunity galore, because this work from anywhere was introduced to this whole community. That Jeffrey Moore chasm got collapsed, right? And the enterprise started adopting what we're doing. I think because of that, in the work from anywhere scenario that we're in, I think cost constraint is here. I think labor costs are going up. We know I never in my life cared about what a tank of gas cost. I actually watch it now, and I'm amazed and blown away by it. I think amongst my team, we take pictures the higher it gets, which isn't funny, but it kind of is because it's so significant. So I think as those things continue to come to the forefront, it's going to create more opportunity for us. We were laughing in the back. We're not recession-proof, right? We don't sell booze. If we did, this would be a better conversation. But I think technology comes into play in any recession. It'll be a little bit different. How we go to market, we might choose different paths. But I think ultimately, as we're in the midst of this thing, we're a publicly held company. Just take a look at our earnings last quarter. And I don't say that flippantly. I think it continues to present opportunity because companies want to save money. And we all know that old on-prem CapEx model is not surviving this cloud world. So it creates opportunity for you. It creates opportunity for us. I don't think it's recession-proof, but I think you will see the right companies continue to rise.
And look, I mean, in a recession too, I think our partners are kind of well positioned with their clients. Like, when things start to slow down a little bit, then people start to look, right? And when they look, there's opportunity and possibly bringing in a new solution that reduces cost. And when things are great, people are adding. So this business historically, and we've seen it over the last 20 plus years, we've seen the ebbs and tides, we've seen the differences, and our partners have always weathered the storm because there's opportunity out there when things do slow down. So I think that'll remain consistent.
Yeah, I agree. I said earlier, there's always opportunity and change, and I think a recession, like Dan said, is one of those changes where there's opportunity. What we found in 2008, when we watched we participated in the recession as an organization. We found that there were certain sectors that had a downturn. So we watched call centers that were doing subprime mortgages or subprime auto loans or whatever dried up. Just overnight, they were gone. Those minutes just went away. Because there were volume-based contracts. So we all of a sudden saw this contraction in one area of the business, but expansion in others. And fortunately, what we sell is critical. And what we learned through the pandemic is unless you're going out of business, you're going to keep it. What we also found through a recession is it was a recruiting bonanza. There were more people who engaged as a partner and hung out their shingle and said, look, I can't get a job. I just got laid off. I'm skilled at what I do. I can either go back to school or I can start a business. I think the difference today is we have the financial wherewithal to help those people. And so people that do start a business, and it's not going to be today or tomorrow. The recession is not going to hit and not be fully felt. My belief is, 6 to 12 months when people really feel it. I think there are a lot of people who are going to say, I've been watching from the outside, and I think I've got what it takes. and I want to give it a shot. We are better equipped now to be able to assist and educate and finance and help these people build businesses than we were. Because it was carnage back then. We could not financially help people, and some people got through, and some people did not. And everyone looks at partners like, hey, I could do that too. Like, look at these fat cats, and they're successful, and I'm smarter than them, and I could do it. I'll tell you, there is a lot of people who have tried and failed. It is tough to build a business. The revenue comes slower than you think. The expenses are higher than you think, and it is tough to weather the storm. But I would say the TBDs right now are in a better position to help anyone, whether it's our capital program, financing that person, or it's our marketing help, or whatever it is to help stand up that business. So I believe that the recession is going to be a boom for this industry, because we go back and look at the class of, we look at cohorts, and we look at the class of 2008 and 2009. The partners that started agencies then are some of the best partners in the industry today. And so we're about to see some amazing organizations be built that are going to be born this next year or two.
JD, you're local to this area. We've been putting on this ITEXPO show here since 1999. Is this a valuable place to have a tech show like this as a local representative of the tech community?
Oh, I'll tell you, I've watched you grow over the last couple decades. It's amazing. We were laughing backstage a little bit about it. I said, I think I remember when there were a few card tables out there, and Dan too. Dan being a local guy, and I moved here in 1991 and went to Palm Beach Atlantic University, just up the street, and got into this business real quick after that. And I've been coming here for a long time. I am blown away at the activity this week so far, the attendance. I think you said it was a record crowd to attend. I love my friends on the West Coast, but sometimes it's nice to get in your car instead of an airplane and travel to a state where you could be in London faster, right? So for me, I'm so impressed by what you've done here. I love the quality of the speakers, the suppliers that have shown up, my peers that are here. It seems like you got a really good thing going. So I'd like to see you guys keep growing this thing. I think it could be really big down here.
And we've had a few requests. A lot of people said, hey, what about November, December, January, February down here versus...
That's actually... You know what? That's actually a really good idea. Yeah.
Well, we will be back here in February of 2023.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, good.
So we moved because of the conditions in February, but you guys all know we're supposed to be February of 2022, supposed to be February of 2021, made June work, but we are absolutely looking forward to being back here in February in our usual normal time frame. And yes, lots of attendees, also a record number of exhibitors. Thanks in no small part to the suppliers and partners that you guys all bring along. And Dan, Adam, you guys have been also here for years. Absolutely hope that we will continue to see both of you here at ITEXPO going forward as well.
Of course.
Just in February, through the save the date up there, that's awesome. Just bring sunblock, please. That's the only thing. We give out the hand sanitizer in the booth. We're going to give out sunblock in February because I don't want to see these red faces and all that. It's a big deal here in Florida. You know that.
We don't need sunblock in June?
Yes, we need sunblock all the time. A sunblock commercial. I'm a 70 guy, by the way, and I still get dark, so you just got to spray it all over you.
I want to close, first of all, by thanking all three of you for joining us, congratulating Dan and Adam on the news this week, and for you for kindly sitting in between the two of them for this panel discussion. Any closing thoughts on what we're going to see in the next 2 to 5 years as far as whether it's the channel in general or how you're going to have to deal with partners and their expectations?
Sure. Let's see, next 2 to 5 years. I think that the easiest way to predict the future is look at current trends. You look at microprocessors, they're going to get faster. You look at electronic vehicles, there's going to be more of them. You can look at these existing trends and kind of project out what's going to be. And I would say the trends to look at in this industry is, number one, the channel is going to grow phenomenally. This is a wave. And I think it's more important than working hard is placing yourself in a position to succeed. You're in a great place in the channel. So many companies are diverting resources from direct selling to channel selling, to partner selling. And that's a great trend to be a part of. The second element I would say is a boon to all of us is the product set is expanding and the deal size is growing. So even more opportunity. Our goal in that over the next 2 to 5 years and taking past trends forward is more resources, more enablement, because the companies that you're building today in 2 to 5 years are going to be incredibly successful, incredibly adept at managing very complex deals. I think a lot of people are worried that this is going to go to Amazon and people are going to point and click. And that's just never going to happen. Having been a part of the consulting world when I was at KPMG, starting my career, and watching Ernst & Young is just spinning off its consulting unit, Deloitte, Accenture, there is no shortage for the want of expertise. People out there want expertise, and you've got it, and we can help support it. And that trend is going to continue on, which means more opportunity for all of us. If the technology is not getting easier, we're going to see new technologies come in. We're going to help support it with resources. You are going to continue to grow, and your businesses are going to be more sophisticated, and your needs are going to change. And that is our role, is to make sure that you've got what you need in terms of analytics, in terms of data. That's where we sit. I believe that nobody else occupies that space. Is we are able to see so many transactions, so many suppliers. We're able to analyze and say, implementation here goes well, not so well over there. Time to cash here is shorter. Work with these people, not with those. This is what we advise. That kind of data, because of the space we occupy, we can provide that as value to you as you grow successful businesses in a rising tide, and that's where we all are.
And I would say training too, right? I mean, training over the next few years and attend trainings and be a part of the things that are happening, because, the technology is changing, right? And if you're not continually honing your craft and learning more about the business as a whole, then you're kind of going to miss out on some opportunities that come your way. So, I believe all of our organizations have trainings coast to coast, and participating in those does nothing more than increase your annual earnings. So I encourage you to be a part of them.
Yeah, I think for me it's just simple math. And you look at the TAM today around UCaaS and CCaaS and cloud-based services, and if you add up every supplier at this conference, we don't even scratch the surface. I think it's like 19% of the TAM all in. What does that tell you? It tells you there's opportunity. And so I don't think that suddenly changes. I don't think the TAM suddenly shrinks. I think it does nothing but increase. So for me, it's the numbers and looking and seeing what's down the road. That said, we will see more consolidation. And we will see suppliers coming together. We'll see more partnerships that are formed, et cetera. It is imperative, if you take anything away from today, take this. It's imperative that you put yourself in a position of influence with your customers, so you are that trusted person that they come to for the 3 Ds and the E I talked about yesterday: the discovery, the design, the delivery, and then the enhancement of those opportunities and those solutions. So follow the math. It never lies, right? It never lies, but there will be more consolidation and there will be more opportunity for you, but you have to have yourself in that position. And no matter where you park your business, I said this yesterday when these guys weren't in the room, we hope it's Intelisys, but if it isn't, wherever you do park it, it is important that you're dating that customer. If you aren't asking that question about security and others, somebody will, guaranteed.
And Adam, for what it's worth, I'm seeing on the media side of things, every week, new suppliers launching, expanding, revamping, renaming their channel programs. So my sense is that the suppliers out there who are a little bit later to the channel game or just kind of stuck their toe into it, they're understanding what you're saying and what you all are doing and seeing the advantages, the benefits of working with that channel community. So I have to agree, and to your point, JD, the opportunity is absolutely not getting smaller. If anything, it's going to get bigger. So again, I want to thank all of you for joining me here this morning. Thank you for being here this week at ITEXPO, and big round of applause for our panel.